Good morning. It's June 2nd. This is To My Liberal Friends. Well, I think we've all been watching the protests that are on college campuses and the streets of some of our major cities. They're anti-Semitic and anti-Israel. The protesters chant, "Free Palestine," and "From the river to the sea." Now, most of them have no idea what that second chant means. It just sounds catchy to them. It means the total elimination of the state of Israel. On college campuses, these protesters have stormed buildings, built encampments, and threatened Jewish students. They wear masks to prevent being identified, so you have to wonder just how committed they are to the cause they're protesting. If they were truly committed, they would stand up proud and show their faces. But that might mean some unintended consequences, like being expelled from school, not getting the job they want, or even getting fired from the job they have. They want to be bigoted, but they don't want anyone to know it's them. Anti-Semitism has been around for as long as time. We saw it in the most brutal form in the 1930s with Hitler's final solution, where they rounded up Jews for extermination. You would have thought this would have turned the world away from this ugly form of discrimination, but it only pushed it underground where we couldn't see it. But it still existed. In Washington, D.C., where I spent my adult life, Jews were not allowed to join country clubs for way too long. They had to form their own club in Rockville, Maryland. Woodmont still remains primarily a Jewish club. In Los Angeles, Hillcrest was a Jewish club. Ivy League schools have been at the forefront of this anti-Semitism, and it should not surprise anyone. These schools were long populated by the prim and proper folks from New England and around the country. Jews were to be tolerated, but they were never going to be accepted into their form of society. When Hamas committed that atrocity on that October day, you would have thought the world would have recoiled in horror. Was this happening again? But within a few days, suddenly these liberal elites were blaming Israel, and the protests started. Israel responded to the attack by going after Hamas, and since they have a much more modern military with all the necessary equipment, they forced these Hamas terrorists to flee and hide in their underground tunnels. This action by Israel enraged these supporters of Palestinians, and the protests only grew larger. Suddenly it became in vogue to attack Jews here in the United States and in other cities around the world. Synagogues were defaced and damaged. Jewish congregations had to employ armed guards, especially during their services. And still there was no definitive action by the political leadership in this country, and the media remained mute on the subject. That all changed with the Trump administration. Republicans got control of the Congress, and they brought the leaders of these elite universities, Columbia and Yale, before them in hearings, and the answers they got were pathetic. The president of Harvard at the time, Claudine Gay, said that someone chanting "kill all the Jews" would have to be taken in context. The exact exchange is as follows. Congresswoman Elise Stefanik, a Harvard graduate herself, asked Gay the question, quote, "Does calling for the genocide of Jews violate Harvard's rules on bullying and harassment?" Gay's response was stunning. Quote, "The rules around bullying and harassment are quite specific, and if the context in which that language is used amounts to bullying and harassment, then we take action against it," end quote. Gay later tried to clean up her remarks by saying free speech had to be considered, but the university would take action if a student was directly threatened. So I guess just chanting it in general, making that threat universal, not to a specific student, that's okay, that's free speech, but it certainly is not the kind of speech we should tolerate. Where I'm going with this is that by allowing this form of anti-Semitism to grow, it only leads to real violence by some in our society. Last month, we saw the murder of 2 young people leaving a party at the Israeli embassy in Washington. The killer, Elias Rodriguez, was shouting "Free Palestine" as he was led away. He told police he did it for Palestine and Gaza. This weekend in Colorado, we witnessed another terrorist attack. An Egyptian national was in the country illegally, having overstayed his visa, attacked a peaceful rally on behalf of freeing Israeli hostages by Hamas. He was throwing Molotov cocktails and trying to set people on fire. The perpetrator, Mohammed Sabri Salman, was arrested and at the time was screaming, "Free Palestine." These terrorist actions are being taken because there will always be a fringe element that will take these protests to the extreme. So it's time for the media in this country to start denouncing all of this in the strongest terms. I'm talking about the anti-Semitic protests on campus, the anti-Semitic protests in the streets. When they cover them with the media, it needs to call them out for what they are, bigots. We as a society here in the United States should start speaking out and doing it loudly. When politicians try to excuse this behavior, we should rebuke them. By allowing it to continue, will only increase the chance of those on the fringe taking things to the extreme, and we simply cannot tolerate or allow that to continue. This has been To My Liberal Friends. Thanks for listening.